of the Norwich Public Utilities Board of Commissioners and the Sewer Authority for Tuesday, May 25th, 2020. I think all of the commissioners are here, but if there are any people calling in for the public comment period or any other reason, we'd like you to give your name when you speak. The opening portion of the meeting is 15 minutes for public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment, now is the time to do so. The people who are making public comment should understand that this is an opportunity for them to express their opinions. It is not designed to be a debate between staff or commissioners or anyone else. It is simply an opportunity for them to express their thoughts, and we would ask that they limit themselves to between 3 to 5 minutes. If there's anyone calling in who would like to make public comment, they should do so now. Once again, this is the public comment period. If there's anyone wishing to make public comments, we would be willing to listen. I don't know if we have any callers on the line or not, but please speak up if you're interested. All right, well, hearing none, I'm going to move to the next item on the agenda, and that is approval of the minutes. I would like to accept a motion to approve the minutes of the NPU Board and Sewer Authority meeting of April 27th, 2021.
Make that motion, Bob.
Bill Wazika makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mike Goldblatt seconds it. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. The next item is information and updates provided to the board prior to tonight's meeting in your board packet, which includes the leadership team template, the retirement update, and the COVID-19 financial update. Are there any questions that the commissioners may have of the staff here?
I have one question, Bob. What is the status now of the plans for the upgrades to the sewage treatment plant? Is it with DEP still?
With DEP, Larry can go into the details, but at a high level, we provided, they asked questions about our design, about the design, and we wanted to get them, we provided the answers to them. And what's it been, Larry, about 5 weeks now?
No, it's still up there. The basis of design is you don't get permission to start design without the basis of design. So that honestly should be a box to check. It's not. The regulator that we have is actually commenting on stuff that was previously approved 7 years ago, which has not changed. So
It's worth it to give them a call.
So my latest contact was with Nisha Patel on Friday. She said she was holding a meeting and would get back to us early this week.
Oh, good.
So if we are not successful, we've been pushing for a meeting though.
Yeah.
And if we don't get resolution this week, we will push extremely hard for a meeting.
Good. Yeah, I think you should stay on.
It's a weekly thing, and we're coming at it from multiple angles. Larry's coming at it, straight at it. We have our design consultants, CDM pushing on it, and I'm pushing on it. So good. We're going to keep the pressure on.
And the plans are still to move forward for the design.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the CDM is promised roughly a 6-month turnaround to get the plans up to DPH for permission to bid on how long that takes. And then we need our dates.
And one last question, the project up at Top Canterbury Turnpike, the association, how's that going?
This came in a lot higher than anticipated, and we think it's due to the material shortage of COVID. So we're attempting to figure that out. We were told by the contractor, it's not the contractor's time, it's literally material. This is the increase.
They communicated back with DPH about the bid coming in about 200-some-odd thousand higher than that.
And how would that be divvied up? Would that be association and DPH?
It would be in the association, so it would change the assessment potentially to the residents. So what DPH again is looking if there's any options for potential additional assistance, and then if not, then we'll be approaching the association, with what the new numbers look like. So.
And if we don't get any relief, we'll also be having to go in front of the city council again and just presenting it again. Not that it was controversial the first time, but it's higher than what we would expect for the resolution that was passed.
And there were several bidders, I think there was 8 bidders, because they well-received projects, so they all had.
Yeah.
It's like materials, not labor, so it's not stupid, because we're waiting years, waiting for prices, right now, they never come
That's a good question, I mean, that's a great question.
That may be part of the discussion. I mean, there's a sense of urgency because of the status of the current well system in the neighborhood. So, obviously, they would like to move as quickly as possible.
Maybe.
I don't want to sound like a nitpicker, but under what, the second block there, it says, comments for DEP were received on March 33rd. So I don't know if that was, so the 23rd or?
We submitted basic design report, we got a letter back. Within a week, we addressed all the comments.
No, it's just that, it says 33 for the.
Oh, gee, no, sorry.
Just, I do want to correct it, fine.
Much as I always love to blame Larry, I do a proofreading that before it goes out, because that's my fault now.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The new day. The new day, sure.
It's a pandemic day, we added an extra day.
I know, so 2 or 3 o'clock is that.
Yeah.
Man, we gotta let
And
you.
that's the name of the day.
Yeah, that's our 2 months, right?
We should, you asked about the sewer project, for example, plant project. Nobody should get their hopes up by any means, but the city and, NCDC and NTU to some degree are all working, with a lobby in Washington, called the Ink and Gump.
Yeah, I see.
And, there are lots of opportunities out there. We don't know what's going to work. One of the things that's happening, of course, is that the so-called COVID bill has a major component dedicated toward infrastructure. So that's a possible source of funds. The Congress has gone back to earmarks. So each congressman and each senator can have projects that they want to do for their district or for their state or whatever. And so we have the potential of competing for earmark money. And then there's the yet to be passed infrastructure bill. Who knows what's going to happen there? Supposedly the Republicans are upping their proposal to $1 trillion tonight or tomorrow. Something may come out of that too. So for now, I think we have to continue to think that we're going to finance things the way we plan to finance things. But there could be a good letter in the mail.
Yeah, it's just that, I agree with you. I mean, there are comments they made 7 years ago, and they're still bringing them up, and it's just, at some point, they gotta say, it's good enough for now, let's go with it.
But I'm claiming that we're 100% approved.
Right.
We were just waiting.
Yeah.
It's kind of a strange dynamic going on at the moment, so.
She was the original project manager, then we had 2 others, now she's back to being project manager again. So somehow the 2 others kind of got forgotten.
I mean, one of the things, as long as we're talking about this, the state apparently, as part of the so-called COVID bill, has millions and millions of dollars for infrastructure as well. And a significant portion of that has been put aside for parks, development of parks. And I thought for a long time that, if you wanted to clean up Norwich Harbor, you sort of imagine a boat with 2 holes in it, with effluent coming in both of the holes. We're going to put hundreds of millions of dollars into plugging one of them, and we're going to leave the old Dawley's Wharf, Cedar Junkyard area untouched. So that's gonna potentially continue to pollute the harbor. And wouldn't it be great if we could get some state funds, clean that up and turn it into a park? I don't know who does that or whatever, but,
Well, I think the city and the state could work to do that.
yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay, thank you.
All right, anyway, are there any other questions regarding the information and update provided to the board? And if not, we will move on to the next item. And hearing none, the next item is the CMAQ update. And Commissioner Peel, can you update us with, see what's going on at CMAQ?
All right, I can. There was no board meeting since our last meeting. However, the CMAQ budget committee met on April 29th to review the first quarter operating budget and also review the CMAQ financial policies pursuant to the strategic plan initiative. This review included capital expenditure approval process with a more detailed array of capital cost categories, and also a review of the approval authority for purchase orders. And that's about all that happened this week in the last month.
Next meeting is Thursday this week.
That's right. Yeah, twice a year we have a period where there's either 2 meetings or no meetings. Last month, 2 meetings.
And for what it's worth, I have copies here on my desk of the, one copy each, of the CMAQ strategic plan and the annual report. I don't know if you guys have them or not. Oh, you do? Okay, well.
Yep, those came in the mail today, and the leadership team and the board all have a copy.
Okay, good, good.
So I had one question going back. Sorry. As far as the projects go, are we at a point now with COVID that we're going to start projects that have delayed from last year?
Yes.
Pretty much
Yes.
we're starting now to get those going again?
Absolutely. We've been, if you look, you can see the spending has significantly increased in the last month, and we are working full 100%.
All right, thanks.
I see your guys out all over the place.
A lot of projects going on.
Good. All right, the next item on the agenda is the update on the water primacy bid. Chris?
All right. This is one that Bill had asked a question on, and we put it on the agenda, and Larry Sullivan, who is running the water department, will give us an update on the essential tax of the Department of Health.
So, state primacy.
Larry,
Oh, you're just.
Going back and forth,
you just have to talk.
So the state drinking water primacy assessment, it's a fee collected by the Department of Health to support the department's ability to maintain primacy of the federal state drinking water act. What primacy refers to is DPH is the primary, the only enforcement authority for the public drinking water for any needs we require whether the fee, which was supposed to expire in 2020, which was actually never assessed, goes toward funding existing staff, critical functions that DPH supplies, enforcement action with record maintenance, sanitary services, and administering drinking water funds. Now, the fee, the basis of the fee, next slide, please, was to make up for the gap between federal grants and state funds. It was not meant to hire drinking water department. The recent DPH study indicated that the department run out of federal funds for all the programs that it does administer, and this was supposed to supplement the difference between the state funds and the federal funds to maintain the same level of service. The current assessment is $1.87 per connection, and this was negotiated by DPH with Connecticut AWWA. They reached out to them, and with the NBC and backing of some other large players than us, negotiated $1.87 per connection in good faith, according to AWWA. We have approximately 12,800 connections. What hasn't been determined is any by connection if it's just drinking water connections, or is it hydrants, fire lines, sprinkler systems, irrigation systems as well. So being conservative, we did all of them, and that would be about $24,000. If you kick it back to just drinking water connections, it would be like $21,000. Not a huge change, but $3,000. Proposed changes about DPH, without negotiating with water owners or WA, they propose to increase the fee to $269 per service, which is about $9,000. Eliminate a sunset provision. So the sunset provision was negotiated that the state didn't apply this assessment fee by 2020 with your license. They want to eliminate that sunset provision and have it remain forever. We also wanted to eliminate that prior to this being attempted to be changed, that if they assessed the water companies we all had to pay, they had to provide a report exactly where every penny went, where every dollar went, how it was spent. They wanted to eliminate that requirement as well, so they could just collect the fees and do whatever they wanted, reporting back to people who provided the fees. These changes were proposed as part of the tax bill to the governor. But where we stand now, next slide, Steve. I know Chris and both Chris have been in contact with AWA, and they have reached out to every water owner in the state, actively advocating against this change in the bill. The good news is that this time, these provisions have been removed from the bill. There's still time left. I think the end of the legislative session is June 9th, 2021. There's a chance it could go back in. It doesn't look like that at the moment. But even so, if it was assessed at $24,000 or $31,000, it doesn't seem like we have to change our feel that they have that. Laura has better explanation.
Yes, on a budget the size of the water division, a increase in cost of $9,000 would not significantly change the overall budget for that division to the point where we need to reassess the rate. The rate track that we put in place last year will be sufficient over the next couple of years. However, what we would need to do is continue to monitor it, and should those costs go up, they will be included in our expenses, and as part of the next cost of service study, would be included in the analysis and would contribute to any future rate changes that would happen subsequent to the 3-year track that we're in now.
So we have been paying them. How many years?
No, we've been paying it for three years, and it's about $18,000 to $20,000. It's slightly, but yes. Right.
Yes.
Yep.
About $1.50. Well,
Yeah. Yep.
It's the bigger utilities are going to get a huge 4,000 connections.
Yeah, sure.
But it's kind of interesting because in gas, they are the safety enforcement bureau for the federal government. And federal government pays them some money, and also taxpayers pay the money. But there's nothing coming directly from a payment from us. Sewer, we do pay a nitrogen fee, but there's no fee like this in sewer.
Do you see that coming?
Well, this is a trend that could happen. You would think, especially sewer and water, why wouldn't you, right? If this works in water, it helps balance the budgets of the state, right?
Right.
Driving it down to either the consumer or the taxpayer.
It's another way to implement the tax.
It's what it is, you know, they try not to use that word as a tax.
Well, because the companies are gonna have to recoup that somewhere. It's gonna have to come to their customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the drinking water staff, do they do sanitary surveys of our systems?
Yes.
Yes.
They do.
Yep, absolutely, they come out.
Yep. Our person who's been doing it for the most is Mandy Smith. And every year, her and a couple other engineers usually tackle it and just do an overall assessment of the whole plant.
Do they talk about cross connections too?
Different group, but yes. They audit our cross-connection process.
Oh, okay.
They don't come down and check the businesses, but they audit our report. Larry, you just submitted that one last week, or was it 2 weeks ago?
No, that had to be in by March.
March?
Calendar year, so you're about 2 years behind. To be honest with you, yes, we just counted them.
One more, I forgot to ask in the last session about the DEA down until all this finished, or is it?
Yeah, it was completely shut down since October. Right now, the contractor has the utility in June. There were some delays with them themselves, for it to repair.
It says it all finished in September, but it will be.
We asked for September, that's because there was money additional funds available to replace some of the canopy pumps out there, but there's a long lead time. So there was a way to give the contractor a little extra time. But the unit is promised to be up and running by the end of June. Yes.
We're having a whole tour if anybody would like once it's up and running. It's going to be a very impressive facility.
That's what I thought, they get the big construction done.
Yeah.
A whole lot. How's
Yep.
the reservoir level out there?
0% full right now. It's even with how dry it's been, still 100% full.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, if we're all set, we can move on to the next item. And that is new customer bill design.
All right, so we were expecting to have Ruth here tonight to present this, but unfortunately, due to some issues she had with her back, she's, I think, available by phone. I didn't know if she was to answer any questions, but Jeff is going to do the presentation here for us this evening. And if there's anything that gets into, the details where we need Ruth will type in.
All right, very good. You can go to the next one if you'd like to. So, just a little bit of history here. We formerly worked with a company by the name of DivDat that has done our print and mail billing service since 2006. So we were a bit overdue for an upgrade, and they actually got acquired recently, which is one of the things that hastened us along, moving somewhat in a different direction. So what we did is we put out an RFP. We actually had 12 responses to the RFP, which was very impressive. So we had an internal committee that worked on this, made up of all the different stakeholders across the organization, and we were able to shortlist 4 of those that we brought in for interviews and asked detailed questions to. We ended up with Sherville, which is a company out of Duluth, Georgia, near Atlanta. Quite a bit of extensive experience. They print 1.7 million invoices or bills monthly. They work for about 37 other utilities, and we're about in the middle of the size that they work with. So really, really good fit for our organization. They were actually the lowest cost qualified bidder. There were some other lower costs, but as yet sometimes they aren't able to perform or meet the requirements of the bid. We go to the next page as well. So one of the things that was an opportunity with changing our print and mail vendor, they also develop our bill statements, and then that you see in front of you, and I'm going to review in a minute. We got a chance to redesign that statement. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of that in a minute, but really the goal or objective of the redesign for the customer was to provide more clear presentment of the bill. And again, now if we continue to develop our online resources through a company called Webex, an online payment and presentment, they're going to be using this new format in their presentment. So that's great, and also to provide more timely information. We had toward the end had a couple issues with latency in the statements getting physically mailed, and then there was also some latency we believe associated with the postal service, associated with that, all of which we hope to eliminate with the new vendor. Also some benefits to the utility as well, and again, by providing better information, that reduces the amount of times that they may need to call us or reach out to us for clarification. We're always available, we're open again across the tracks here, but again, if the customer can understand right up front or answer their questions quicker and simpler, that's always a benefit. So again, better informed customers were a goal here. So if you look at the 2 statements that you have in front of you, and I passed it out because I apologize for those that are looking online. This is going to be difficult to see in action. So maybe you just go to the next slide. For those watching online, that would be the best. That's the new bill design. You'll see one that's in, has the blue on it, that's the new bill design, and the one that has the black is the old. So again, this internal team that we put together did an excellent job. This provides from Chris Riley and his folks on the communications side, right on up through our customer service center, to those soil based on some feedback that we've received from customers. We also have quite a few NPU customers that work here at NPU, so we did some extensive interviewing with them just to see what they liked and didn't like about the existing statement. And we were able to make, some significant improvements. If you want to go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about some of those. Again, it really comes down to information. So emergency information on the front, you'll see the graphs are clearer, a little bit easier to understand. The temperature is on there, which was not on there before. I want to say up front, these are mock-ups. We're in the final stages of IT, and I'm looking back at John, to physically generate the statements for the July 1st implementation timeframe. So if you're good with math and you add up the numbers, these are just for representative purposes here. But you'll also notice there's information boxes. Again, this has become an industry practice, showing where you might have been versus last month, where you might have been last year versus last year in words versus, or in addition to the graph as well. I think, let's see. Yeah, we can go on to the next one. If you flip them over, one of the biggest differences here is that we've essentially taken all of the information. A lot of this is required for regulatory purposes, obviously valuable information contained on the old statement, and condensed it into the top third of the back of the new statement. That leaves this large blue area that you see on the back. And again, I apologize for those listening online, I don't see all this live, but we do a quarterly newsletter, both for commercial and for residential customers. We get a lot of that information right on here. So there are things that we need to do. Chris, if you want to expand on that at all.
So this is, now we have just a single line. It's a really weird calculation. It's like 42 characters over 3 short lines, like doing Sudoku. And we have to figure out what the bill message is going to be. This is a ton more space, and presuming that this goes well, we could then eliminate our quarterly newsletter and eliminate our quarterly commercial newsletter and use this, which could save us $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. It's smart enough, but we want to make sure this is up and running before you make any dramatic change. So the benefits that are yet to come, provided that the rollout goes smoothly, and we can continue to communicate more regularly, more timely with customers using this. We want to demonstrate that we're responsive, these communicators are not going to be any more helpful than they are now, probably less helpful in the future. If we could have monthly customer communications in a more detailed way and put the content online, we'll save a ton on printing, save a ton on postage costs, because the month at the end of the newsletter, the postage shows up. So we can save, between $25,000 and $35,000 if and when we go to this next level of service, which is to come.
Yeah, and also we have a lot of regulatory requirements. Every year we put in tree. If you're going to trim a tree in your yard, call us. If you have customer-owned gas piping, you need to do an inspection. There's things that we have to do every year for safety messaging, and it fits great in here versus a quarterly newsletter that might not be as timely.
If you look down at the bottom, we talked about our online or automated payment options. This has been a huge home run in the past years. Again, as the expectations of our customers move more toward online self-serve, again, go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if this is an oversight change in policy, but on the old one, you could pay in person, and it doesn't say, it says in the front, avoid paying by mail, and then see the back of the ways to pay. It doesn't say you can pay in person.
First and foremost, I want to clarify, you can always pay in person. We have the night drop where you can walk in and you can actually hand it to somebody. So I think,
Shouldn't it say that there?
we'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So again, in addition to that, we obviously have the automated functions. We're trying to be as open to whatever options, what's best for our customers. All right, moving on to the next. We'll talk a little bit real quickly about the implementation process as we move forward. Again, we're working toward a July 1st implementation, so it takes a month to get through all the billing cycles, so it doesn't mean 45,000 bills go out day one. It's just those billing July 1st, that cycle starts, and we work our way through over the next month. There's statement mock-ups, which you see here. Customer service and IT are working together to get the final where we're actually going to be able to generate those in an automated fashion through the new system. It takes a lot of IT, programming and coordination and things that others can speak to better than me. But the most important part that I always like to see is that bottom part. We have an extensive testing plan, to make sure there's multiple layers, that everything is accurate and there aren't any mistakes that aren't caught before they get out the door. Go to the next one. So again, I mentioned July 1st, it's a little bit around, but, full process of validation. We'll start June 1st, building our internal accounts within the system. So again, that's another way for us to go through the system, soup to nuts, make sure there aren't any gaps in the data or anything incorrect. And then we'll move ahead and roll it out to the customers on the 1st of July. So go to the last slide, which I think Chris has actually done a great job of covering already. But this just lists multiple ways that we will make sure that we get out the information, and Mike, we will stress that we still come pay your bill in person. I appreciate that. But again, just the list of avenues on here is so much more extensive than it was years ago. So this is really a great opportunity to get this information out. And as Chris and I were discussing earlier, it's a heavy lift in the beginning, and then it's something that we'll follow up over time just to make sure people understand that we're available.
So there's, in this section, also in this communication section, are you gonna mention that people can come into the office, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And that's about it. So, have people available if there's questions, or offline or after,
Well, I guess one question, have we ever looked at doing this internally, or is it something that's just infeasible?
It's one of the things that we did look at, but if you look at the way other users will do, we did reach out to other APPA and but generally this is something that's outsourced, and it's simply more economical to do it that way. We would have to staff up in order to do that. We also looked at some potential. I know Easter Steel helps us locally with some of our specialty print and mail, but they just simply didn't have the capacity to do something.
Yeah. 20 years ago, it was done in-house. It was moved out for savings.
Yep. Okay.
Looks pretty nice.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.
More colorful and a lot more information, so team did a nice job on that.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is to go into executive session. I don't know whether we have any business after the executive session, do we? It's not clear on top.
There is one resolution that maybe.
All right, so we will have to come back after the executive session. I have to read my speech here. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential, trade secret, and commercially valuable confidential or proprietary information not subject to inspection or public disclosure pursuant to section 210(5) and 732A of the Connecticut General Statutes. This information is commercially valuable, confidential, and proprietary, and is not public disclosure pursuant, not for public disclosure pursuant to Public Act number 98-212. Also to discuss personnel matters of an employee or employees and or public officials pursuant to Chapter 14, Section 1206A of the Connecticut General Statutes. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor? It is unanimous.
Right, and Bob. How about now? Thank you.
They're working?
Both of us.
All right, Bob? We ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, we're back in regular session, and we have one item on the agenda. The agenda is the acting water integrity manager position. And do we have a motion to accept?
So,
We have a second. Do we have a second? All those in favor? It is unanimous.
All right. Thank you very much. And what's the best part of the meeting, Bob?
The end. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
nice job, everybody.
It's unanimous.
All right.
This is
Thank-
that
thank you,
mythical
gentlemen.
hour-and-a-half meeting that I heard you were gonna be having 45, 6 years ago. Yeah, that's right.
You never know if we're gonna get a guest of honor at the beginning or anything else, so it's nice when